You know, in a black church, after a song like that, they say, you might as well just go home now. That was so good. And you know, I got hearing aids, so I really heard it this morning. I got tired of my wife saying, huh? Here it's telling me, you just keep saying, huh? So I went and got checked out, and I had moderate hearing loss, and which probably most of you do, okay? Exactly. I'm not getting old or anything. Actually, you lose 10%, by age 40, you lose 10% of your hearing every year if you have a hearing issue. So I figured, yeah, so now I can really hear my booming voice. And I like it. This church year is going to be something else. And we've come from, and we live in a time of a lot of suffering. And we've all been thinking about suffering, loss, death, which comes with being human. That there will be times when we will suffer loss. And it will be close, death. It will be close to us. Nothing to fear, of course. But it gives us a chance to pause and reflect, to gain perspective. Makes you think about what's important. Some days, Joan and I have this thing we say, good morning, we're still here. Because if you think about it every night, you're given a chance to practice dying. You don't know if you're going to wake up. And we wake up refreshed, anew, given a new chance to learn something new, to experience something new, to be back on that journey again until we're not. And that's okay. For me, I ask myself, how can I make my life count today? It could be my last one. What can I do today to make a difference? To make someone smile? Because we truly only have right now. Not tomorrow or some other convenient season, as W.E.B. Du Bois put it. We have today. And although I'm going to talk about this church year and my message, what I really hope you will hear is how can you manifest in your Unitarian Universalism our values every second, every moment to the best of your abilities. Because that's what we're called to do. To be the beloved community manifested by our living example. This congregation suffered a big loss this week, losing Karen Muir. And she was the kind of person that would give you the shirt off of her back and then tell you exactly what you needed to do to get a shirt. She was so compassionate and gentle and loving and a tough soul, a strong woman, retired educator. And I know you loved Reverend Fred's inspiring sermons, but she was the magic behind that man. She will be missed. With COVID and war and violence in communities, you can't help but be thinking about life's fragility and your own fear. But Rumi says, be here now, indeed. But it's a practice. Be here now in your joy, in your sorrow, in your gratitude, in your love. Be here now with your laughter and your tears. Be right where you are and just keep knowing that even though things get dirty and grimy all around you sometimes, the light of hope shines. I love when you're on a plane and you take off and it's cloudy, and then that moment when you go above the clouds and the sun shines through. That is life. Hold on to your faith, hope, and love. Especially when you feel your back is against the wall and things keep coming at you time and time again. But wisdom teaches the mystery of the cycles. Just keep doing what you're doing. Life, the earth, the planet will keep spinning for a long, long time. We are cosmic cycles of matter. We are that. Thou art that. As it said in the Hindu Upanishad, thou art that. What goes around comes around. And so you just keep waking up every morning and say to yourself, well, spirit, well, life, I'm still here. I'm still breathing. What shall I do today with my one wild and crazy life, like Mary Oliver likes to say? What shall I render? What shall I give? How can I be of use? How can I make meaning today? And there may yet be surprises in store for you when you're ready to adapt and accept what might be coming, the unknown. And you give thanks every day. And you do it again and again and again until it becomes a part of who you are. And over time, this mysterious and often mundane and yet magical process teaches you to be resilient, just like nature, because you are nature. To flow like water, as Bruce Lee would say. To learn the ebb and flow process and to flow with it. So you learn to accept the things of nature, the things that live and die. You make peace with your fears of living due to that fear of death. And you accept that. Life giveth and taketh away. But instead of, cursing God and dying, that's what Job in the Bible, Job's friend said, just curse God and die when Job was suffering. That was their friendly recommendation. Recommendations can be suspect. Be careful. But Job looked at his life as a blessing. Even though he had it all and lost it all, he looked at his life as a blessing. And he said, blessed be the name of the Lord, or blessed be my life. I'm thankful for this grand journey of consciousness. I'm preaching this morning. Now, if you get this, you also know that this journey comes with many magical surprises and epiphanies and synchronicities that will stop you dead in your tracks, and all you can say is, whoa, what just happened? Thank you for this moment of clarity and confirmation. So once we get a grip on what life is, you've given yourself over to not over-personalizing everything, like everything revolves around you. You get out of your own way. You get into the flow. And know that life is calling you onward and upward forever. That's James Freeman Clarke, a Unitarian. Onward and upward forever. And you realize that it's not about you, but about service to others. And that life is not actually worth living without serving others. When your life feels glum and empty, try serving others. It's a powerful treatment for the diagnosis of the human blues syndrome. You haven't heard of that? It's very contagious. But if you really are into the flow and you know what life is, then you know that you are connected to all things, to all people. That there's this giant web of interconnections. And we meet those people who are in our energetic flow. of life in a kind of grape cluster. A grape cluster of associations, of communities, through laws of gravity and attraction. Meaning that all those who you know, and some you don't know, for better and for worse, are directly or indirectly connected to you within your sphere of influence. You are their teachers, they are your teachers. And I believe that you are naturally attracted to them and they to you. It's like when we went to General Assembly in June. There are 4,000 people. And I keep running into the same 6 people over and over again. It gets to the point where when I see one of them coming, I turn the other way. It's like this magnet drawing you to them. And well, this congregation is also a social, scientific law of gravity and attraction. You are not here randomly. I don't believe that. You're here because something compelled you, something called you, pulled you, beckoned you here. Something you read in those 8 principles, those 6 sources, something in this new Article 2 value statement is calling you. Something in the over 50 ministries that we have here is calling you. Perhaps it's a small group, or it's singing in the choir, or in the ensemble with the singers and the band playing an instrument, or it's some committee work, or maybe it's our care team, or it's a social justice project, or to meet a new friend, or maybe, dare I say, to find romance. People have met here and gotten married. I see 2 of them back of the room. Something is calling you here. Are you listening? Are you looking for that thing, that place where you can serve? If you're here for the spirit of love, well, I think you've come to the right place. Love is the spirit of this church, and I know that a lot of churches say that. All are welcome here. Not true, really. But love is the foundation for all we do. That is our end. We fall short, of course. We're not perfect, but it is central to who we are. It undergirds everything we want to be. And this church year, the ministers want to talk about love and its many expressions and manifestations. Next slide. As a part of this Article 2 configuration that I think aptly describes our values with many big words. Love is at the center of all that we do. We're going to talk about love this year. And also, if we are going to have love, then one of the conditions with love, there have to be certain conditions that are met in a relationship. And one of those conditions is equity. If you are here, you are a believer in fairness in your relationships. We're going to talk about equity this church year because power imbalances in relationships often lead to abuse. So we have to keep trying to be more equitable in our lives and in this congregation and in our world. If I'm striving for equity, there will be transformation in my relationships and the spaces that I occupy. That is a natural output of change. Transformation is change. But I'm really talking about being in a place where you will be challenged to grow your soul. That you will engage in transformation to make yourself in the world a better place. I like to say you are a work in process and progress, and you will not progress until you process. We're going to talk about transformation this church year. If you come here and you're a believer in what we do, then you also believe that we create and believe in pluralism. Now, the social definition of pluralism as defined by the Cambridge Dictionary says that pluralism is the existence of people of different races, religious beliefs, and cultures within the same society or congregation, and that it is a good thing. I like that. There's some places that don't believe pluralism is a good thing. They think pluralism is ruining the country. But if you are here, then you believe in pluralism, that it is a good thing. That the existence and recognition of non-dominant cultural identities is a good thing. But if you are here in this great cluster of love, then you accept and hold sacred human difference, that diversity is good, that inclusion of more people of color, of GBLTQ+, and other minoritized groups in our beloved community is good for all of us, then you're in the right place. We're going to discuss pluralism this church year. If you are attracted to this congregation, then you're also a believer in generosity. Generosity, not scarcity. We have a lot of that in our world. You can see the word scare in the word scarcity. Fear and scared people running our systems, putting more fear and scarcity into those systems when we come from an ever-expanding universe that has no limits. If we learn to share more, there's enough for everybody. There's more than enough. Scarcity can lead to greed. Scarcity is why I don't go to buffets any longer. You ever been to a buffet? People elbowing for space, quietly negotiating, trying to get the last chicken wing, as if that is the last chicken wing that will ever exist. People act like they never ate before. I'm done with buffets. Because it always seems desperate, mean, and competitive. I don't care if I have a coupon, I'm not going. But generosity is about sharing and collaboration. Generosity breeds more generosity. We're going to talk about generosity this church year. If you love this church, then you know that we believe in justice, leveling out the playing field in the home and in the schools and in government and in religion and life. And UUCA partners with and builds collective power for justice with many organizations like ACT, Anne Arundel Connecting Together. We like to say organized people and organized money with relationship building is how we build power to create just systems in the community. So we organize with our community allies to put our values into action, to lift up the worth and dignity of all those underrepresented groups. Justice is fairness. It's very similar to equity. But we're really talking about justice as a balancing of the social laws, making sure that all cultures get to participate in the process fairly, making sure corporations look like the demographics of their communities, making sure government looks like their communities more, making sure there's truly equal protection under the law. That's justice. Justice is that sort of societal call for a beloved community. We're going to talk about justice this church year. If you're a Unitarian Universalist thinking about being one, then know that we believe that all human beings are sacred beings. As Dr. King would say, we are tied inextricably in a single garment of destiny. Now, he got that from a Unitarian Universalist, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. She said, we're bound together in a great bundle of humanity. What we do has karmic ramifications. Therefore, how can I do less harm? How can we learn to be more accountable to each other in our human relations? One of my favorite hymns in the gray hymnal is Can I See Another's Woe by William Blake. He says, can I see another's woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? Can I see a falling tear and not feel my sorrow's share? No, no, never can it be. Never, never can it be. So we're going to talk about that this church year. Interdependence is what I'm talking about. And so we have a full church year ahead. And I love that our new congregational president, Jan Bird, has said on a number of occasions, I expect this to be a great year. And I do too. Because you are in the right place at the right time, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So how can you, as Sarah was saying, how can you engage in this community more in love, in equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, justice, and interdependence? How can you do that? Well, one way is to stay around after church and not just go home. We have a big community fair called Engage UUCA. Woohoo, woohoo! There's somewhere for you to connect, somewhere for you to meet your future spouse, somewhere for you to make new friends, somewhere for you to make that connection that you just never expected. So stay around. Friends, I want my life to matter. I don't know about you. And I find that when I serve others, my life matters. It adds value to my life. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. That's who you are. We are people of use. Use your love to serve humanity. Amen.